r/ask Reddit. Which fictional death hit you the hardest? Sam the onion picker in holes. My man just wanted that lady to be his wife so they could live together in onion and peach filled bliss. And goddammit he wanted it too. Still makes me sad to this day. I can fix that. You hear about Pluto? When I was a small child, my father invented stories about a truck that worked hard and drove challenging roads all over the world. Then he ran out of stories and sent the truck to the junkyard. Made me very sad as a small child who loved trucks at age 66. Makes me sad to remember. Could make a great children's book show. I read Where the Red Fern Grows as a teen. When the dog Old Dan died after saving Billy from a mountain lion, followed by the other dog Little Ann of a broken heart, I was inconsolable. Not sure if this should be an apology or an appreciation edit. I would like to thank everyone for the fantastic response. I stayed up late reading the comments and blowing my nose. I feel a connection of sorts with each of you. I'm 40ish years old and I'm surprised that the book is still messing with kids' innocence. We read that book in school. Teacher had to have us read that chapter because she couldn't do it. It had been part of the school book list like forever. She had to have read that book like 20 times and still couldn't hold it together. It seems like this is a nationwide thing. Unless everyone here went to taught at Jim Bridger Elementary circa 1996. My husband decided this book would be a good bedtime book to read over the course of a couple weeks with the kids. I objected, because I'd read the book and I knew how it ended. He read the whole book except for the last part where the dogs died. He couldn't do it. I'm the hard ass that had to step in, put myself in auto mode, and read the words. 5 kids and 1 husband crying. And I'm trying to hold it together. I still love the book, but I know I can never read it again. Brendan Fraser in Scrubs. Where do you think we are? Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Thanks, wasn't planning on crying today. 99. A deformed clone trooper who couldn't serve in the Clone Wars and just worked as a janitor instead. When he sacrificed himself. That hit me. I'm a soldier. Just like you. Melts my heart. Not technically a death, but when Wall-E's memory banks got fried at the end, I felt that in my soul. Thankfully Pixar would never leave us on a note like that, but damn, that little robot moved me so much. I adamantly maintain that Wall-E is the best movie ever made. Remus Lupin. He just had a sad life and he died right after life seemed to be looking up for him. Edit. Wow, this is my most upvoted comment on this new account and the most upvoted one I've ever had. Thank you. And then his kid became an orphan. Thanks. I was really sad about Fred Weasley. The fact he was a twin made it worse. I will say, when I read the books, the only death that made me cry was Sirius. That one was rough. Yep, it just happened like that. I was not expecting it and just wanted Harry to have a father figure. That book literally had me pacing around my kitchen reading it. Hank from Breaking Bad. Dude started the series as a stereotypical meathead that I thought I was gonna hate, but had one of the biggest character arcs besides Walt and Jesse. By the end I was rooting pretty hard for him. Imagine finding out someone close to you was a major drug lord if you were a D agent IRL. That would have to be awful and embarrassing. Edit. Thanks for the gold whoever did it. He was mid-speech when it happened too. That doesn't happen to the good guys. Do what you're gonna do. Bang. Wash in Serenity. I am a leaf on the wind. The hardest thing about that one is that it's all so sudden. He's dead before you even realize what just happened. And suddenly they have to go there cause the Reavers are coming. Mal has to drag Zoe away cause she's in total disbelief and trying to get Wash out of the chair. Her response was really great acting. 2. The simple refusal to accept that he's dead. That somehow all he needs is to wake up. Littlefoot's mom in The Land Before Time. I posted this recently, but when I first saw it as a kid it was the first time that I realized that my parents could die. That thought had never even really occurred to me at that point. Even now as an adult, that scene where he thinks he sees her but it's just his shadow and the narrator says, then Littlefoot knew for certain he was alone, still gets to me. Littlefoot's mom. Dear, sweet, Littlefoot. Do you remember the way to the Great Valley? Littlefoot. I guess so, but why do I have to know if you're going to be with me? LM. I'll be with you. Even if you can't see me. LF. What do you mean I can't see you? I can always see you. Don't make me cry on the toilet at work. I have to go back in there. Well, not going to spoil it, but if you've seen Bridge to Terabithia, you know what I'm referring to. The trailers made it seem like a fun fantasy movie, but what we got was a depressing pile of depressing. The book read that way too, up until it sucker punches you. Boromir from Lotta. They took the little ones, doesn't even consider asking for help. It seems like he was hoping Aragorn would just run off right then to rescue Merry and Pippin. He more than redeemed himself. God yes, I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king. Double quote. Dog from Futurama. We'll meet again. Don't know where. Don't know when. Wrong song. Seymour Waiting for Fry was I Will Wait For You by Kenny Francis. We'll Meet Again was in there at the end of the Garbage Comet episode though. Ned Stark. You watch the entire first season of GOT thinking he will be the main character and then he gets his damn head chopped off. It shocked me. Believing that Sean Bean would survive a series was your first mistake. A long time ago, my wife and I came up with a life expectancy rating for fictional characters using Sean Bean as a baseline. Funnily enough, Ned Stark came in at 1.5 beans. Edit. Wow, I did not expect such a huge response. For those who haven't worked it out, I can't remember the exact calculations originally used. It was something like an average percentage of how far through a TV or movie series Sean Bean survived. Obviously, this is slightly subjective and the results were skewed somewhat by Sharp. Lieutenant Colonel Moss Hughes edit. Thanks for the silver kind stranger. Edit. Thanks for the gold kind stranger. You all can stop correcting the rank. I get it, I got it wrong. Brigadier General edit. Obligatory thank you for the silver. Twice. Edit 2. Thrice. World's greatest father. Mordin Solus in Mass Effect 3. Had to be me. Someone else might have gotten it wrong. The very model of a scientist Solarian. Would have liked to run tests on the seashells. How has no one mentioned Bubba from Forrest Gump? You're lying if you say you didn't cry. I wanna go home. Bubba was supposed to be a shrimpin' boat captain, but instead, he died right there by that river in Vietnam. Seymour Butts. Goddamn you. Futurama. Why you gotta make me feel the feels? Oh god yes. And the little montage they had of him waiting for Fry. It's the montage that's potentially the saddest thing I've ever watched, and I refuse to watch it again. Not worth it. Atreus or Sartax. A detail not in the movie from the book is that Artax actually speaks and begs to be left to die in it. Yup, and Atreyu honored his wishes and walked away. Reread that as an adult and was like, duck, that's one hell of a metaphor for mental illness. Whole ducking book was just one metaphor after another. Was Michael N just not okay or something? Bing Bong from Inside Out. IDK what was up with that movie, but that was the first time I nearly cried while watching a movie. Lion King. Shrug Red Dog. Doesn't affect me a goddamn children's movie that I didn't even watch all of. Ducking heartbreaks. The death of Bing Bong was the death of childhood innocence, sacrificed to save a child's mental health and, as a result, the mental health of the developing adult. As someone who deals with depression, that movie hit me hard. It was so nice to see a movie portray a lot of the stuff about depression that doesn't get talked about. I was on the verge of tears for most of the movie, but Bing Bong dying was like the floodgates opened. The wife in Up. Ellie. The dog in I Am Legend. Edit. Thanks to the kind Redditor for correcting my mislabeled title. My husband pointed out that neither of us gave a damn that almost every single human died, but were devastated by the death of that dog. Noble 6 in Halo Reach. I never really experienced death of my characters before, so it really stuck with me, fighting to the very bitter end and just having to watch him die all alone. Knowing the lore of previous Halo stuff and his particular Spartan project, 6 didn't even die with his friends. He went out solo in a glorious but futile display of defiance. Made me sick to my stomach at the time. Spartans never die. Objective: survive. I remember when I was playing this in co-op and trying for ages to find a safe place for them to respawn. Took me too long to realize there was no safe place. Cedric Diggory. Harry Potter books 1-3 were all sunshine and rainbows, but the fourth is where it started to get dark. My 12-year-old self was also not expecting his death because it happened so quickly, and he was only a student. I had to ride my bike to the park to process his death, and this was while I never particularly rooted Team Harry for his character. When I was a kid I hated Cedric's braggy, pompous-ass father. When he cried over his son's body it destroyed me. Him yelling "that's my boy" in the movie when him and Harry fought back is so filled with emotion. It hits so hard. Logany can't believe someone hasn't commented it yet. That whole movie was just a series of blows to the ribs, man. Seeing how old and frail Logan has become. Watching Xavier deteriorate more and more. That family that helped them getting massacred. I just couldn't deal. Absolutely didn't help that Wolverine is one of my favorite heroes. Charlotte in Charlotte's Web. It's been 40 years and I still can't even think about it without getting choked up. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks, everyone. Especially for the silver. I was in the back of our big green 1972 station wagon when I finished the book and I remember so very clearly what a complete wreck I was. Glad to know I'm not alone. LT Colonel Henry Blake edit. Thank you for the silver and gold. The realization what was happening with the lady who had the noisy chicken in the finale also hit me hard. Also the episode with the dreams nightmares. Especially when the medical professor asks Hawkeye for his arm and asks him how to reattach it. When he can't answer he takes both his arm and throws it into a pond full of limbs. Then an armless Hawkeye is in a boat floating through the limbs toward a dying kid and who he obviously can't help. That was a rough episode. MASH is a phenomenal TV show. Yonder's death in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He was my favorite character of all time in any movie. It hit me RLY hard edit. I shouldn't have posted this, because now I'm watching it edit too. Thanks for silver. He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. Mary Poppins y'all, comma. In Red Dead Redemption 2 edit, added spoiler tags. When you get that high on a cutscene with Sister Calderon in the train station and he says "I'm afraid," I've never felt more devastated playing a video game. That scene hit me hard. The game does an excellent job of making you emotionally attached to these characters. And even then I had this image in my head that Arthur was this classic western unstoppable badass. Even after the doc told him what was going on, I was still thinking, okay, Arthur will just tough it out. Then that scene at the train station comes and the way his voice just drops with that line. That's when it really hit me that one way or the other Arthur wasn't gonna make it out of this. Granny Weatherwax from Terry Pratchett's Discworld. It was the last novel and released just after his death. Granny dying mirrored that Terry was in fact gone too. Such a magnificent author. The resemblance is made even more apparent by Granny being a witch, meaning that she knows she is about to die. She sees it coming and calmly prepares for it. I imagine Terry writing this scene, knowing full well his own life was coming to an end very soon. In a sense, he wrote this scene about himself. He is Granny, feeling death closing in on him and calmly preparing for his departure. This is weird, but Ygritte from GOT, when she said we should have stayed in that cave, it really hit home. My GF at the time and I were on a break and going through a bunch of stuff, and that episode made me want to go back to our little cave one last time. OP in Sons of Anarchy. Every thread that asks this sort of question gets the same answer from me. Leslie from Bridge to Terabithia. Hodor. Spark. Saw it in the theater. Didn't know it was coming. No internet spoilers back then lol. For me this is a double cry. First when he actually dies, and second when Kirk's voice breaks when he says, "Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human." Brooks in Shawshank Redemption. I think any death where the actor died in real life because the actors aren't just saying goodbye to the character but the actor as well, and that emotion really comes through and makes it really hard to watch. Think the main example of this is Finn from Glee. That episode was so hard to watch. I didn't expect to feel so emotional at the end of Iroh's part of that episode of Atla where they revealed that his first voice actor had passed. The way they did it was so respectful, and beautiful too, with him mourning his son. I hope I'm not misremembering, but doesn't the cast just straight break down from John Ritter's death on 8 Simple Rules? Dobby. He died as he lived. Free. Sirius Black. Yonder's death from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. As a kid it was definitely Mufasa. That part of the film haunted me for months. Now Yonder's death makes me bawl. Romanoff's makes my heart break, and Danny's death in Pearl Harbor is a very poignant one for me. Spike in Cowboy Bebop. Holy shit, I'm gonna carry that weight. Edit. I'm so sorry guys. I'm such an asshole for not using spoiler tags. Shia. I am not done with part 3. Stop spoiling. Rob Stark. Sincere thanks to all who pointed out my error. I went cold during the Red Wedding. It was supposed to be a heartwarming moment when Arya would meet her family after so long. Instead she had to be dragged away to safety by the Hound while she was wailing. Charlie lost. Not Penny's boat. Rita and Dexter was a bad one. Shmuel from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Both of them for me. They just don't realize they're dying. And they hold hands and then they're just gone. Sweets from Bones. Did not see that coming. Honestly it's easy for me. Bob's death in Stranger Things. He was so cool. Don't worry, Hopper is not dead. If he was dead that would be even more depressing. Tadashi. Big Hero 6. Disney. Okay, but what if we make this kid a double orphan? Hard. JT York from the Degrassi series. I've outgrown the series and the situations, but for some reason if I ever do a rewatch or feel like crying, his death episode knocks me down. Harder. Carmina from Gurren Lagann. It's a shock in multiple ways and the show never lets you forget about him. For good reason. Hardest. Lee Everett from Telltale Walking Dead. I'm not even a Walking Dead fan and I only picked the game up because the first episode was free. Hooked instantly and fell in love with him and Clementine. The ending of episode 4 made me actually shout when it happened. Still gets me. Sarah from The Last of Us. Joel's reaction gets me every time. Ginger in Black Beauty. The death of Optimus Prime in the 1980s Transformers movie. Sirius Black. As a kid, I lived through Harry vicariously, as he seemed to go through bad shit just like me. But unlike me, he suddenly had a father figure who loved him, didn't treat him like a child. Someone Harry finally felt owed him as a parent unconditionally. Seeing that particular safety violently yanked from Harry made him put the book down for a few days. Naruto Shippuden. When Jiraiya sensei died, I forever remember his little feet clap in the intro of that season. Edit. My first silver thank you. Any deaths in the Clone Wars series? Satine. Domino Squad. Raxa, Fives gets me the most. Rue from Hunger Games. For me it was Prim. I kinda knew Rue was gonna die, but Prim was out of nowhere. Still really sad with Rue though. Edit. Okay. Apparently a lot of you didn't like Prim's death. If you have a younger sibling, you might understand how horrible it would be, even if you don't get along. And I think it's really sad, even if the entire point was to save Prim. Makes it all more tragic. Plus it makes Katniss hate Coin on a personal level, which may have been just what she needed to kill her. Iron Man and Endgame. That and Thor getting to see his mom again. Both hit like a bus. Groot's death in Guardians of the Galaxy made me cry while eating Doritos on my bedroom floor. Right. Sarah Lynn? Edit. Oh. Row. My first awards. Thank you, kind strangers. Dr. Mark Greener. Oh my god, so many I don't even know. But these are probably the top 2. Though I think Iron Man and Black Widow are a close third. Alien Up. I recently watched it with my boyfriend and I was crying so hard we had to stop the film for about 10 minutes before we carried on. My boyfriend also got me to watch all the Marvel films because I've never seen them and he wanted me to be caught up for Endgame so we could watch it together. When we got to Infinity War I cried when Spider-Man got dusted and then cried about it again about 10 minutes after the film ended. My boyfriend went to make me a hot chocolate and our friend walked past his room. We were at uni, while the door was open and unfortunately heard me sobbing on my boyfriend's bed, so unfortunately more than one person got to witness my emotional overreaction to a fictional event that day. Koro Sensei's death. Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I was about 5 years old when I first watched that movie. He was my favorite character in the movie and it hit me really hard when he died. Sniper in Last Battle from Save Private Ryan. Vincent Nigel Murray, Bones please don't make me leave. Double quote. Prim, threw the book across the room. What was this all for? The first 20 minutes of Up. I'm still scarred. Goose from Top Gun. Glenn in The Walking Dead. It was so brutal. John Wick's dog. Joyce Summers edit. You exciting my first ever gold. This is super cool. Also obviously super sad. Thanks for your thoughts my fellow buffs. Remember as well this was in a universe where all sorts of crazy demons were trying to kill Buffy and this was just a natural death and of course the worst timing. I think that's the saddest part for me. Peter Parker in Infinity War. The 10th Doctor / Doctor Who. Bob from Percy Jackson House of Hades. Hit me like a truck when I read it the first time. When Thomas died in My Girl and when G-Baby died in Hardball. No tears. Just ducked up ways to go so young. From Telltale's Walking Dead. I played through the entire game 3 times desperate for a way to save him somehow. Also, from Saga Reddit, added spoiler tags. Finnick from The Hunger Games. Newt from Maze Runner series. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content bruh. It's free and that's a great price.